this recording just in case we need it recorded. Okay, let me get going here. So this, I'm having flashbacks to when we had to do this during COVID. What a nightmare. But anyway, can somebody let me know if you can see the screen in just the full screen mode and not that split screen? Hello.
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for letting me know y'all are really out there. I'm not making you turn your videos on. But anyway, okay. So what you're gonna miss from, I don't know why I can't, hang on, something is, I don't love this. Can't see, no, I don't, that's not what I meant to do. Can't see my Zoom screen and I don't know why. Hey, see if I can get this back up. Sorry, y'all. It's been a while since I had to do this and I do not miss it at all. Oh, there we go. Okay. So the activity that you are going to miss, I can show you guys that next week. We'll have plenty of time to do that DICOM header activity. We can do that next week. And the other thing that you're going to be doing are Blackboard questions. So the questions are on Blackboard related to this imaging informatics PowerPoint. So you can do those. It is open book. So feel free to use your books, your PowerPoint to answer those questions. And if you don't have to email me if you accidentally put in an extra letter or something that and it counts it wrong, because I'm going to go back through everybody's and look at them because it is mostly fill in the blank. And I know that it's easy to put an extra space in there sometimes or spell something, you know, don't put an S on it and I put an S on it so it counts it wrong. So I'm going to go back through all of that and check everybody's after you submit them. So this is, like I said, probably going to take us till about maybe 15 after 3. But I do expect all of the Blackboard questions to be finished by the end of our normal lab time. So those have to be submitted by 5:30 today. Or 5:40 is our normal, is the time that our lab would normally be over. They're not going to take you long to do. The other groups have finished them relatively quickly. So I don't foresee y'all having an issue with doing that either. So, all right, let's get going here. This is a lot of terminology again, and I'm going to actually close my video because I'm distracting myself. But anyway, so we're going to look at some terms. There's a lot of abbreviation or acronyms that you have to remember for this stuff. But there's a lot of data management in the imaging sciences. And so it requires it to be efficient and effective methods to be in place for the acquisition, the storage, the retrieval, the transmission, and the display of this digital image data from all different modalities, meaning CT, MRI, diagnostic, ultrasound, whatever, and throughout the healthcare system. And so we also have to think about the fact that the images have to be interpreted by a radiologist. So all of that has to come into play, and all of that data has to be managed. And so when we talk about imaging informatics, we're looking at radiology services both within and outside of the healthcare system. Your results need to be available to outside people as well as departments within the system itself. And so managing all of this electronic health information, again, the acquisition, the storage, the retrieval, and the being able to transmit those images and their interpretation and consultation is essential to effective and efficient and improvement of patient outcomes. And so this term here, this PHI is probably familiar to you, protected health information. I'm going to move my thing here a little bit. This is talking about your personal information, the security of it is related to the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act that established national standards to protect the privacy and confidentiality of your PHI. And so you are probably used to getting notifications from maybe your pharmacy or your dental office or whoever, and it's a privacy notice for you, and they're letting you know how or if they're sharing your information. So HIPAA is a big deal. You don't ever want to violate HIPAA because those are fireable offenses. So as radiographers, you do have routine access to PHI and performance of your duties, and you have to take responsibility for adhering to those policies and procedures, because patients want to know that, number one, you have the skills to perform their imaging procedure, and that you're going to keep their information confidential. So the only time you want to be looking up something for a patient is if it is something that is relevant to what you're doing. So if it's something that can help you make a better decision for your patient, or possibly change an outcome for your patient, then it is okay to look information up. But just because you want to see where the patient lives, or any mental health issues that they might have had come in for, things like that, and it's not relevant to what you're doing, that's a HIPAA violation, and we shouldn't do that. Another thing, another way to protect the patient's personal health information and yourself is to never ever share your sign-on with anyone. I know you don't have sign-ons right now as students there for Greenville Tech. You have to either a tech has to log in and help you find something or whatever. But once you become either a student tech or a graduated technologist, you don't want to walk away from a computer where you're logged in, because anybody that comes in behind you and looks something up, it's going to track back to you. So never leave a computer logged in with your information and walk away from it, leave it unattended. Yes, it's a pain to have to log in and out all the time, but that is a way to protect not only your patient's information, but protect yourself from, somebody maybe looking up something that they shouldn't have under your name. So the Hospital Information System, abbreviated HIS, is the electronic system that manages the whole umbrella, what falls under the umbrella of hospital things like administrative things, financial, clinical information. It's the patient's full medical information. And then you have what's called the radiology information system that is more narrowed down to just what is related to those things, radiology scheduling, or putting in radiology orders, or reports, billing for radiology services, PACS, or what we now call MIMPS information. So HIS is the bigger picture. RIS is just related to radiology information system, those things related to the radiology department itself. Another term that you need to be aware of is the electronic medical record, EMR. It can also be referred to as the EHR, or electronic health record. And this is a system for patient PHI that can be shared outside the facility and among many healthcare systems. So things like your MyCharts are considered electronic medical records, because now instead of having to, call a doctor's office or wait on them to call you for results, now you can go into your own electronic medical record and see, you know, when your appointments were or are coming up, or results for lab work, results for x-rays. It's all electronic, which is really nice. So medical image management and processing system is the newer term for what we call PACS, or Picture Archiving and Communication System. So I am not hearing anybody out there talk about MIMPs yet. Everybody still refers to the PACS system. So you have possibly a PACS administrator that is responsible for, you know, keeping the PACS updated and making sure that the PACS is running smoothly and that images are not getting, you know, lost in a black hole somewhere. Your PACS, or your MIMPs, I guess I should say now, is designed for digital imaging, again, that can receive, store, distribute, and display those digital images. The major components you can see, let me show you on this picture. And we've actually seen this picture before last semester, but you can see the different components of a MIMPS system. You have the input modalities down there at the bottom. You have an archive server. You have the RIS. You have the radiology workstations scattered throughout your clinic site or hospital. You can have web servers. You can have web clients so that those images can be accessed through the web if it's an if it's an off-site facility that needs to see the images. So all of those things go into your MIMPS or your PACS system. So how do we connect or bring together all of this important patient data, images, multimedia, all of these different medical records? How do we connect all of that? And so we have what's called enterprise imaging. It takes all the data. It can be anything, images, waveforms, reports, and it combines it into one place instead of data residing in numerous disconnected department data houses. So we're talking about like Epic, the Epic system. Before, when you wanted to enter a radiology order, you had to go into one system. When you wanted to order a lab order, you had to go into another system. If you were doing scheduling, you had to go into so it was all very disconnected. But through a system like Epic, then it's all housed sort of under the same place, so that it makes it easier to connect all of these different departments and areas. Integrating the healthcare enterprise, IHE, is a way to improve the computer systems in healthcare sharing information. And that's done through, basically, this isn't a great way to maybe describe it, but I am not a computer. I don't have a background in computers, so it's like the language that's used to speak. Okay, so when we talk about imaging things, all things related to images, we're talking about the use of DICOM, and we'll talk about what that stands for here in just a second. When we're talking about the text side of the data, we're looking at HL7. So let's look at what those are specifically here. Cloud-based, this integrating healthcare enterprises can be through cloud-based computing. It's sort of like with your own computer. You can store stuff on the cloud, or you can store it, you know, to your actual hard drive on your computer. We have database health monitoring. It tracks the performance and efficiency of the system. And cybersecurity, of course, is a huge part of what we want to make sure that that information is protected and against you know, cyber attacks. So that's one of the reasons why here at the college we've gone to the multi-authentication with when you're going in and out of GTC. For me, it's just another level of protection, because we did have a cyber attack several years ago that rocked our world. So it's a pain to have to do that, but it is actually, you know, extra protection against that. So what does DICOM stand for? Digital Imaging and Communication in Medicine. And so do y'all, when you're looking at this, do you see my Zoom toolbar? Is it covering anything up when you guys are looking at it? Anybody?
No, it's good.
It's good. Okay, because it's driving me crazy. It keeps getting right in the way of what I want to see. Thank you. So DICOM is an international communication standard for sharing information related to medical images. All of the digital image data management equipment should conform to this DICOM standard so that the performances across the devices are consistent and throughout the healthcare system. So again, it's sort of like the language that is used when we're talking about images, and then the HL7, I'm going to come back to that in a second. The HL7 standard is used for the exchanging of electronic information that is text-based. So those two things are important in things running smoothly and consistently. So back to the DICOM header. DICOM header is considered metadata, and metadata just means it's a set of data that describes other data, okay? It functions in the background. So when you have an image pulled up that you're looking at, you're not going to see the metadata on the image. You have to pull up the DICOM header, and then you will see a load of information about that image. Pretty much anything you need or want to know about that image is in the DICOM header. So anything from the accession number, the patient's name, the number of images in the study, the SID, the actual technical factors that you use, the collimated field size. I mean, it is all there. So this is an example of a DICOM header. You can see that it will show you the MA that is used. It'll show you what type of grid, the measurement of the focal spot. There's just all kinds of information there. And so next week, when you come to lab, I will pull that up and show you that, and you can get that information for your lab manual so that you know where to find it, and you won't have missed anything that the other groups got to do. Another term that you have to know what, just general introduction to it. All of these things are in the specs, and so they don't really go into much detail about how much do you need to know about this stuff. So at least if we mention it and you know what the things stand for and generally what they are, I feel like that's all you really need to know. Grayscale standard display function. It's recommended standards for consistent display characteristics such as grayscale appearance and image quality. So you don't want your, it's standards for the monitors, because you don't want your image to look one way on one monitor and then look totally different on another monitor. So it's just sort of, again, consistency based information. So health level 7, again, I said, is like the language used for transmitting text-based information. DICOM is for the images themselves. So network architecture, you're going to have transmission protocols, and that's just a set of rules that determines how that data is transmitted between different devices in the same network. You can have different network components, just like with your computer. You have hardware with your computer, and then you can also have software. Local area network, or LAN. An example of a local area network would be a HIS or a RIS system. Again, hospital information, radiology information system. Oh, an example of a wide area network would be like a teleradiology system. And we're going to actually come back to that term here in just a minute, teleradiology. So you can imagine that one of the biggest challenges is the amount of storage that is needed for the amount of data in imaging. And of course, it has to comply with local, state, federal HIPAA guidelines, because we have to protect that information. There's a couple of other terms here. Network attached storage, NAS, that's more like your cloud-based storage. Then you can have storage area networks that are run off of fiber channels or the Ethernet. Again, just like your computers at home or your laptops or whatever. Then you can also have direct attached storage that's attached directly to the computer without going through a network. So that can either be in the hard drive, or you can, buy extra storage, and connect that way. Just like with your computers at home. So when we talk about archiving media, we have to be able to or the radiologists need to be able to access images that may have been done several years ago a lot of times, because they need them for comparison. And so we can have short-term digital memory, which is usually done through a redundant array of independent disks, or RAID. It's a way to connect hard drives. It can be accessed quickly and has fast response time. And that's because it's usually limited to a storage of about 6 to 12 months. So with old film media type that we used to, when we did images on film, we had a file room. And so our file room at like Greenville Memorial was massive. And it could only hold, the main file room, which had a ton of employees, it only held about 6 to 12 months worth of patients' films, because there just wasn't room. And then downstairs, like in the mezzanine, that would have been considered short term, okay, back in the day, because we could keep other images for the patients that we might need. We kept those on site for, let's say, maybe 5 years. I can't remember exactly what it was, but we would keep about 5 years worth of images. Like, in other words, if the patient hadn't had an image done, or an x-ray done in 5 years, then it would go off site. And that would be more like this long-term type of storage. So you can see with this, the access times with this being electronic are considerably longer than short-term when we're talking about long-term archive media. So images that are very old, it takes longer to access those. And a lot of times that is off campus somewhere. So you also have vendor neutral archives, which just is that. It's supposed to be these archives that any department can put into just one pot and access with a universal viewer. So it's supposed to help overcome many of the issues with interoperability between the various departments and software vendor systems. Again, it's supposed to help enable connectivity between millions of people who are using all different kinds of operating platforms. Some DICOM storage considerations. Just this one thing that really I pulled that they did have listed in the specs. This service object pair. Okay, what is that? That's the pairing of a command with an object. So for example, the service command find, and then pair that with a CT image. So when you're specifically looking for something, you can put the command find and then whatever image it is or whatever patient it is that you're looking for. It's very similar to how you can do a control F in a document and do control F, which means search or find, and then you can put a word in there and it'll look for that. So that's what that service object pair is referring to. We're getting there, y'all. So transmission of data to end users, image compression. So you have to have a way to reduce the data volume in a digital image without perceiving a loss of image quality. So it's sort of like when you're trying to maybe send a video and you get a message that says, this video is too long. I can trim it down, but you're going to lose part of it. You're going to lose resolution to it. So with images, we don't really want that. That would be like this lossy or irreversible compression, and there's some loss of image data. But the advantage is, okay, yeah, it does decrease transmission time and storage space, but you can't do that and get diagnostic interpretation from it. So you lose too much information. So you can't make diagnoses off of lossy type of image compression. Lossless just means that it is reversible. There's no loss of image data at the end user, but it doesn't really reduce the file size a whole lot or as much bandwidth requirement, nearly as much as the lossy type. Compression ratio is another term that just anytime you're talking about a ratio, you're just talking about comparing two numbers. And so the compression ratio would just be, okay, the uncompressed size versus the compressed size. Like, what is that ratio? And so we're not going to really be using a whole lot of this stuff. This would be more if you were going to go into like informatics as a branch off from like just being a diagnostic tech. You know, you can go into PACS administration, or you can go into like working for companies like Epic. Like when they first brought Epic on, they had all of these people who were literally employed for a year or more by the hospital through Epic, because they had to have people to teach them how to use it and all the different aspects of it. So, you know, there's a lot of things that that you can go off into. But back to teleradiology. So we talked about that a minute ago. This is where you have images that are being interpreted outside of your facility from where the image is acquired. So this would be things like where you have maybe a very isolated facility that doesn't have a staff of radiologists, you know, on staff, maybe there at all, or at least not like on the off shift, second or third shift. And so instead of those patients having to just rely on what the ER doc sees or doesn't see, and then they have to get them read and then maybe possibly call the patient back in if they missed something, you can have these images dictated, excuse me, maybe from you might be doing the images in Greenville, South Carolina, but they're being dictated by somebody that's in Colorado or somebody in California. That's what teleradiology means. And even if that's the case, the communication between the teleradiologist and you as the imaging professional still has to be timely. It still has to be relevant. You still have to give them all of the information that you would if you were walking around to talk, actually speak to a radiologist about something. The more information that you can give them, the better. So let's say, for example, they're looking for a foreign body in a foot. Well, if you can sort of direct that radiologist to what area of the foot it has the injury, where did they step, and they think they stepped on a piece of glass or whatever, the more information that you can give them, the better diagnosis they're going to be able to make. So it still has to, you still should maintain the same high standard safety quality as if the radiologists were actually on site. Downtime procedures. So there has to be processes in place for when systems go down. So things like patient scheduling, ordering procedures, acquiring the image, processing the image, the informatics and archiving, all of those things have to have processes in place, and those may differ from site to site. Hopefully none of y'all have been out there working, or you may have been working when systems go down and you have to go on what we call downtime. It can be very chaotic and it can be very stressful, because you want to make sure that you don't, something doesn't fall through the cracks. And so I'm not sure exactly how that goes these days, because it's been about 6 years since I worked in the hospital. But we used to have to, when the system would go down, we had to go back to using paper orders. And so the unit secretary or whatever would put in the order on a triplicate form, and this copy went here and that copy went there, and it could be easy to mess up. So you have to have good processes in place for when systems are down, because they are going to go, sometimes they go down when we don't know they're going to go down, and sometimes those are planned, just like preventive maintenance or something. So a couple of other big terms: biomedical imaging is just it's just includes medical imaging like that we do, but it can also include CT, MRI, molecular imaging, scanning, microscopies. I can never say that word. There's a website there you can go on for more information on that. It's just sort of a broad term that includes medical imaging. CPOE is computerized physician or provider order entry. This has been around for a while. Doctors and people that order the x-rays have been entering those electronically for a while instead of on paper or in paper charts. But that's just CPOE. If you see that, that's what that is. It's just computerized physician order entry. Clinical decision support. So this is something that can help take over some routine tasks, like possibly warn you of potential problems. It's a form of AI. And so, for example, if you look at the third bullet down, it says examples of clinical decision support tools include order sets created for particular conditions or types of patients. So let's say, for example, you're working triage in the ER and the patient comes in with this, and this symptom. Then this CDS tool can say, okay, given those symptoms, then these are the things that would be beneficial for you to order. So it's, again, it's sort of, it's along the lines of what we've already been using with artificial intelligence things, things that simulate human intelligence. So we've been using like GPS and navigation for years now, Google Maps. It's telling you as if it were human, okay, turn this way, go this many miles, and then turn that way. Chat bots have been around for a while. Those can come in very handy when you're, I've used one actually over the weekend. I was trying to order something online and I couldn't figure out how to put something in to get my discount, and I just clicked in the chat box and it came up and it told me exactly what to do. So these are things that we've already been using, may not have even realized that that is considered AI or artificial intelligence. Siri, Alexa, those kinds of things. And I was telling one of the groups this week that my 5-year-old grandson, he was running around wild, and his dad said, okay, you're just going to have to go in your room and just chill out for 5 minutes. You're not being bad, but you just need to take a break. And so my grandson said, Alexa, set a 5-minute timer, because he wanted to make sure that he didn't sit any longer than 5 minutes. So, I mean, even little kids are using AI and we don't even really realize it. Machine learning happens every day. Let's say you Google, for example, if I Google baby shoes, okay, then all of a sudden in my social media, I'm going to start getting these ads for all these different baby shoe companies, okay? That doesn't bother me too much because I know there's algorithms in there and they're looking for things that you Google that you might be interested in. But what is a little unnerving is when you're just talking to someone with your phone around. You're not looking at anything on your phone. You're just speaking on something. And then when you get back on your phone and you start looking at something, then ads come up for stuff you've been talking about. So that's a little weird. But it's already being used in things like banking to detect fraud. So let's say, for example, you forget to tell your bank that you are going on vacation, and they start getting things hitting on your account that are from across the country. That's going to be a flag to them, and they're going to try to contact you and say, hey, listen, is this really you? Are you traveling? Whatever. So banking's been using it. Again, marketing uses it. The internet uses it in search engines to try to learn about us and the things that we want to look at or find out more about. Okay, so I know that was a whole lot. At this point, I want to show you real quick where your questions are. So go into week 7 and it should say radiology informatics questions. and you just click in that and you answer your questions. And once you're done, then you'll submit it. Again, you can use your PowerPoint, you can use your book. But those do need to be done by, let's say, 5:30 today, because that's typically the time we would be done with lab. It's not going to take you that long to do them. It's only like 30 questions, so it's not going to take that long. And then you do have a couple of Rad Tech boot camps to do before Sunday night, so you can do those. And then next week during lab, I'll show you the DICOM header, and you can look at that. We'll have plenty of time to do that. So are there any questions about anything that we talked about or that you need to do here right now? Any questions? Nope. Okay. Well, I am going to try to make this available before I have to walk over to this open house, this recording. It may take a few minutes to process, so I'll try to get that put up in case you need it. But otherwise, I will just see y'all tomorrow morning for Yolanda's lab. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you.